I'd like to call the meeting to order right at 10:01. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good.
Yeah? All right, that's good. All right. Seeing that we tried to have a meeting beforehand in April, I gotta think what day it is, and we didn't have the quorum, we need to approve the minutes.
So I had sent them out. I'm thinking, I didn't send them out a second time. Does anybody need them? I can send them right now.
I do.
Okay. Hold
Okay.
on.
All right, and I mean, I should go ahead and say if anybody has any changes to the agenda. We have items to approve the agenda, approve the minutes, any type of public comment.
I don't have any changes.
Okay,
Looks fine to me.
all right. Okay, so can I hear a motion to approve the agenda as written?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, and all in favor? Seeing that we're virtual, we've got to go ahead and go through people's
Aye.
names, Ron? Okay, Karen?
Aye.
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
All right, Janet says aye, all in favor. Okay, and Alicia's sending out the minutes. I don't know if anybody's here from the public to go ahead and give any type of comments. I'll be stopping every once in a while to make sure that if there is any type of public participation, we can go ahead and get it other than a cat. All right. Next on the agenda is the Mass Housing Partnership, where Alicia and I went to a virtual training session. It was pretty informative. One good thing about it is it started giving us steps to figure out establishing what the community needs for any type of emergency rental assistance or any other types of assistance. Great questions were asked of that. I know even Ken Martin was there from the Ayer Housing Authority. So we had good participation within the Ayer community, knowing that there may be additional needs that are going to be coming from the community. You okay, Alicia?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. All right. Did you send out the minutes?
Yep.
All right.
I'm sorry. I sent them out the first time we had a meeting and I didn't attach them this time. So
Understood. That's okay. No problem. All right. Again, it was a great session. We also had, and I got to look up the name again, not only Mass Housing Partnership was there, but CHAPA, which is the Citizens Housing Group. I'm trying to get what they're, Alicia, what do they stand for? Citizens Housing?
Citizens Housing, oh my goodness.
I know, I have it here.
I've got my definitions here still because,
Yeah, Citizens Housing and Planning Association.
One of the things that's come up on that, and probably the biggest thing, was really, I had known about this, but I wasn't really familiar, and I think Janet and I both have done a little bit more research on it, is the RAFT, Rental Assistance Transition, Emergency Rental Transition Assistance or something like that. I've got the acronym wrong on that, but it's rental assistance. You can get $4,000 in rental assistance. Hold on, I'm being frozen because my battery's low because my strip's not working, Cindy, but that's okay. And we can send anybody who has a gap in rental assistance, and this is something that we want to move on to get some feedback from Ron to make sure that we can get the information out to people who are experiencing a rental gap they've either lost a job or they're having some financial difficulties or whatever. And even before we would do our emergency program, we would send them to this program. And there's being more money putting in there. Janet, I haven't had a chance to talk to you, but we've just gotten notification from the state for a COVID grant, which is later on in our agenda. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And I'll cover the raft, but in this, I was hoping that as we did this, we might hear from Ron what he's hearing from landlords. I know you've talked a little bit about it to us, but if you have any more information, are you finding landlords are having trouble collecting all their rents?
Surprisingly not.
Minute, please.
I've checked with most of our landlords, and there's a few situations where they're missing a few of the rents, but they've worked it out with the tenants. There's no distress at this point. Haven't heard of anybody in a position where they're totally, out of money to pay their rent.
That's great. That's great to hear.
I'm surprised. I would have thought, particularly in Ayer with the price breaks that we have, that we would have some people, but I haven't heard.
Well, some of the people that I know, because I know some people that are in that category of lower income, and what I've heard from a number of them is that the stimulus and the extra money and the unemployment is actually helping them to get out of trouble.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Yeah.
And so possibly if our economy tanks a little bit because of this, the pain we're going to feel might be a little bit further down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's definitely still a demand out there. We have a rental that just came on a few days ago, and it's a good price, $900 for a 1-bedroom.
Wow.
We haven't seen under $1,000 in a long time, and we've had over 250 phone calls or contacts on it.
Wow.
So that's a lot.
Do you think that's significant in the fact that you think that possibly rents might go down a little bit?
No, not until the number of rentals exceeds the demand, and the demand is far outstripping. Same thing with homes. There's just as an aside to give you an idea, there's a home up on Groton Harvard Road, Shirley Road, and they had 42 offers on it.
Whoa.
Impressive.
Yeah, sold for $100,000 over the asking price.
Wow.
Well,
So depending upon the price ranges, obviously. On the other hand, there's of the 10 listings on the market, 8 of them are over 500,000 now. So, they just sit there. So it's the same with the rentals. The rental market works the same way. If the rental gets to a point where, people aren't used to the prices, then it just sits there.
Mm-hmm.
mm-hmm.
So far what we're seeing is the stimulus money is really seeming to help people make it through this difficult part of just, isolating and everything like that. At least that's the gist that I'm getting, except for we're hearing that there's demand for food.
Correct. I spoke with Cindy Lavin, and she told me that they had over 45 people come through over at the Stone Soup last weekend, even though Loaves and Fishes was also open. So with that, it goes to show that people may be using their monies for other necessities, and knowing that there's a food kitchen that can help out, that's taken some of the burden off. I know you and Alan met with some of the other individuals, right?
We had a food forum, a Zoom forum yesterday, and Loaves and Fishes seems to, in the beginning they had a real push, but now they're back to their regular numbers. But Cindy, where she's a little bit more easily accessed, has seen a real increase. I'm trying to think who else was part of that. The school is giving out food for the lunches right through the summer. And that they have about 30 families participating in breakfast and lunch. They have to deliver to maybe 6 families, 5 or 6 families that don't have ability to get to the school, but they give out several times a week morning and lunches for children, morning breakfast and lunch for children through this whole period of lockdown, but they're going to carry that through. They've got about 80 children participating, 80 or 90 children participating, and that works out to be about 30 families. She was feeling that she'd like it to be a little higher. I think it's 90 kids that are getting fed, and we're not that big a town, so that's not so surprising. That was good to hear that that's going on. So what's I'm seeing in from that forum is everybody's kind of working out some of the kinks, and there is they see a food supply, an interruption in the food supply. They're saying that getting the food distribution is where they're seeing some problems. So that was also interesting.
You're talking about that. I know sometimes when Cindy sends out her list of items that she needs, it's amazing on how we are very lucky that Shop and Save and our local market baskets and such, have really started putting stuff back on the shelves, other than meat. It's so funny when you go into the meat counter now. I mean, it's not funny, but it's amazing that they filled it with water bottles and things like that instead of having meat. But I know some of the items that they like for canned foods, like beans and corned beef hash or whatever, no one seems to be able to find that. So it's amazing on how some things are there and some things aren't. So it was good. Like I say, good listening, talking to Cindy yesterday.
It was a very, very good meeting yesterday. It really was.
Yes, I'm sorry, I forgot about you, Karen. You talked about how many meals you were distributing. Do you think
we were going out every day until the caterer, the company that brings us our food, said, no, we're going to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But we get food out for everybody for 7 days a week. So there is no more on-site meals here. I'm not even sure I'm ever going to be able to bring that back at this point because of social distancing. Don't have the space. We do 20 people for lunch down here, and they're shoulder to shoulder in our dining room. So I can foresee, or what I'm hoping, a growth in us going out, and this is what I said yesterday at the meeting, us going out and bringing to people instead of people coming to us. It's completely changed.
Do you think sorry, Janet.
About how many people do you distribute food to?
Between our lunch program and our Meals on Wheels program, right now we've got, I think today, I'm looking at the counter with the bags, I think I've got 23 going out today. Yeah. Okay. But each day we get a new person from town that wants to be on the lunch program, not Meals on Wheels. Meals on Wheels is a completely separate program set up through Montechusett Home Care. Right. And those are people that are being cared for medically. That's a completely different program. When this all hit, we decided to do a lunch program. So the people that would come to lunch here, we're now going to their home, bringing them lunch, supper, weekend meals, milk, that kind of stuff.
Excellent. All right. And how do you get that food? I mean, you food catered?
Well, it comes from, it's called Bateman Catering, and they're in Lancaster. They work through Mock. Mock is my #1 agent in food distribution, and it's federally funded. So at this point right now, everything that has gone out of this department has gone out without a price tag.
Sweet.
Nobody's paid nothing. You want it, you need it, we get it to you. So, and I've also got here, and speaking of Market Basket, I think I've probably got another 30, maybe 40 if you can see them, gift certificates, $10 gift certificates that when we go out to deliver the meal at the end of the week, like today's Friday, we'll put a gift certificate in with their food for the weekend. So if they want to go out or if they have somebody to go out for them, those were all donated from Market Basket. And Patty Stern, the director from Loaves and Fishes, is the one that got those to me. And there's still more for us to have when we need them. So it's been a great group between Cindy, at the Stone Kitchen, us, Loaves and Fishes, the Rotary Club, just everybody coming together, to make it work. But we've been learning along the way, and every day is a different day. Every day is different. Every day.
Mhm.
So that's what we've been doing. And we're going to continue to do it. We're closed until the 12th to the public. But my staff and I, the only time we have not been here was when we were exposed by one of our clients who has since passed away. And we needed to be isolated for 14 days.
Mhm.
So other than that, we've been here.
All right.
So, may I raise my hand? The other thing that I wanted to talk about, which goes back to the rental part, where we did the emergency rental program, and we're talking about trying to pass the housing trust and all that sort of thing, is something else has come up within our office that I think I can talk to people about, though it's a little bit premature, so it's not like general, information that you just pass around in the street. But so our owner of the property over at the Shop and Save property has been in touch with us, because what I'm hearing out there, and it was so funny, I was hearing it in the news and in the business news, that storefronts are really going to see a problem. The whole retail industry is going to see a problem. And so this is a little bit more of Alan's stuff, the business end of things. And but housing is going to be, there's going to be more housing building. And that owner was thinking about putting in more retail over there and had gotten something passed at the Zoning Board of Appeals, a plan. And now he's talking about doing housing over there. And so we're talking about, doing multiple, Ken, this is, so he would come under the new inclusionary housing bylaws. And will be coming in front of us to put housing next to the Shop and Save versus retail, because the thought is that there's going to be less need for retail because so much has moved to online. And that's another one I wanted to actually throw to Ron. I don't know how many rental people you have in retail. We've also had a forum with some of the small businesses in town, particularly restaurants and things. And some of them are feeling the rent because they really aren't open, so they can't make that rental payment.
Right.
And I didn't know if you had heard anything about that.
Yeah, the commercial end of things is definitely in much worse shape in the town than the residential. No question about it. The downtown area has I think we have 7 or 8 vacancies available. Some storefronts, some second floor space, that type of thing. And there's not a whole lot of activity in the commercial end. Number one, you don't really, you can't open a business when businesses aren't allowed to open.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately, I don't see any pickup on this until next year, because a lot of the businesses apparently are not going to be going at 100% for some time yet. And even then, people, depending upon the type of business, people, the customers will maybe not show up right away. So, yeah, it's pretty much come to a standstill as far as people renting commercial space. We did rent one space a few weeks ago, but that's it. The watercolor shop is open. That's vacant. And then in that building upstairs, with the exception of one suite, the whole second floor is vacant. So, not much good news on that end.
Yes.
The rest
how
of
about-
them, I don't know how depending upon, and, couple that with the fact that the loans given out by the government are really not being given. The small business loans are really not being given to small businesses. Government qualification for small business is 500 employees. So, and you need employees. For instance, real estate companies, very few received any money because most of them have no employees. They're all independent contractors. And if you didn't have a payroll, you weren't obviously eligible for payroll money if you have no payroll. So a vast majority of the real estate companies, the small real estate companies, do not have employees.
So I'm going to speak to that on the one that says the Community Development Block Grants COVID grant. So, but I'll wait and talk about that because there is some money coming for that. So.
Well, the last conversation too that I had with Calvin Moore, he went ahead and said that's where he's going to be hurting the most because all his businesses can't afford their rent because they don't have the business coming in. Either they're closed or else they're just doing curbside, which has definitely reduced the amount of traffic. So with that, I can see where they're going to need assistance.
Yeah, I mean, in the real estate side, the real estate industry, don't forget, was considered an essential business. So we never shut down. We haven't missed a minute. We've been open regular hours, staff's in and out. So there's really been no change on our end that way, other than we're obviously careful about the way we approach the customers. But the company itself has not missed a minute.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I know I see you there every day.
Yeah, knocking on that window.
But should I go for my walks? It's like, all right, well, if I think we covered that training session and such. Now I just want to move on to like the housing trust update. With that, again, the CPC had their informational session on May 20th. If you go to the CPC's portion of the Ayer website, there is a letter that the team has generated stating on how we know this is torn between the the increase in the surcharge, that it's still on the ballot. So going to town election on June 2nd, right now it's still scheduled for that date. They know that ballot question is still out there. When you look at that ballot question, in the letter, we say look to the future, not just look right now. Even though we're in tough times, if we had this additional funds, they could help out the people for rental assistance. So Alicia and Alan's programs could be also helping out more businesses because the housing trust doesn't help out the businesses. It's going to help individuals with their rent. And one thing that I reemphasize is that rental payment, when you look at the assistance, goes directly to the landlord, not to the person themselves to use for whatever way they want to. It's right directly to the landlord. And having those funds available would take a burden off of the town. Like I say, these are individuals that would fall through the state crack, those fall through the federal funding, so that there are those additional funds. And having that RATH, R-A-T-H, whatever, the rental assistance, transition assistance program, these are things that can go ahead and help out. Well, again, with the housing trust, we didn't have, for the CPC meeting, we didn't have much participation, well, really none, but we threw everything out on the website so that people can see it. We also threw the video of it out on the website. And I've been working with, I think I told you guys that there's a team of local residents who also are supporting this. So because of what we can do with it in the future, they have created the website of supportayercpc.org. So out there, they posted the little part of that video as well for the information session. And they also got the okay to post something on the Ayer community page. So they work with the administrator to throw something out there on how it's a lot has changed since October 28th when it was passed at fall town meeting, but we are on that second phase to put it onto the, it's on the ballot. One thing I also emphasized during the CPC meeting is individuals can ask for an absentee ballot. Susan's been sending them out. All they have to do is contact the town hall and they can get an absentee ballot and with that do their voting as well. So again, with that housing trust update, it was information that we included that CPC is looking forward to this group coming forward and asking for a housing trust at the fall town meeting, maybe asking for CPC support financially. And I think pretty much all systems are go. We just need, again, to get it all locked down with the guidelines we learned a little bit about at that virtual training, what our needs definitely are going to be now and also too into the future. And I think, like I say, I think we're on the right path. Any other questions, any other feedback? Alicia?
No, I think that all sounds really good. And I'm hopeful that at the ballot, the town continues being as progressive as they've been. Mm-hmm. So have you had any feedback when you talk to people? Are you getting any negatives on it?
Yeah, I mean, there are negatives. And again, some of the biggest negatives are why jump from 1% to 3%? Why can't you do a 0.5% every year or something? Well, one, you got to go through the two-step process every year. Okay, you got to go to the town meeting and then you got to do the election for each single one. But the biggest one is the state matching monies. There is a bucket there that someone's going to get. And if we don't take advantage of it, then, you know, I use the word shame on us because that money is there and it can almost triple the amount of money that we get coming in. And one good thing is residents can opt out if they meet the qualifications from the assessor. And second is we can always revert it back if need be. It's not like it's ground in stone. So I think now, even though it's not the best time, it is the time to look towards our future of having funds available should anything like this ever happen again, which hopefully it never does. So I think with that, so there are negatives, and believe me, people, got a bad taste in their mouths when the CPA was first started, that it went just to open space. I'll tell the group here what the CPC has done this year. It's required by law, and Karen will know this, that you got to give 10% to housing, to historic, and to open space and rec. 10% has got to go to those three categories, no questions asked. And then, so what the CPC did is on those three categories, they only gave 10%. The leftover, approximately 70%, goes into an undesignated fund. That means we can go ahead and tap into that fund to be used for whatever we need to. When it's in a category, you got to use it for that category. So when people see that there is, so much money in open space, it's got to be used for open space and rec. And that's why I'm so happy that the CPA fund is now opened up with more recreation items so we can assist for the new playground over at Prody Park. Tearing it down, you can do the reclamation and everything else. And I've spoken to Jeff Thomas about it to make sure that we can go ahead and get something new there. So putting it that almost 70% into that bucket, if a housing trust is approved and we want to go ahead and ask for money from CPC, that can come out of that, not necessarily the housing category. So the group is very open to making sure that we have funds available wherever the need exists. So I wanted to be sure that people know that it's not going into open space like it has been in the past.
I got a
So,
question for you, Janet.
go ahead.
So are you saying basically now that you've received the applications for the use of the funds for the next fiscal year and that you basically kept them in the 10% range for those three categories already? So whatever we see on the town meeting is going to reflect that?
Well,
So
when you,
you've basically, you've got 10%, you've got requests for 10% of historical, you've got requests for 10% of the, no, you're not
no,
saying.
it's not the request. When the town assessor tells us how much money he expects to bring in between, for 2021, right? This is all like an estimate. We have to go ahead and break it down into a disbursement within those categories.
Okay.
So it's the disbursement that goes into those categories, not the request.
Okay, so you're basically just funding the categories
Correct.
and then you wait for the time to come whenever a request may come in. Which
Correct.
might not be this year, it could be next, could be more next year or less, whatever.
Well, like say, I know in the fall, Historic is going to be requesting I think it's like $170,000 for the final phase over at the Sandy Pond School, right, on how they're working on that project. We don't have that 170,000 inside the historic category. We have to go ahead and shift it over from the undesignated.
I get it, yeah.
So that will be a question that will be asked at town meeting. Can we shift it? If not, it comes out undesignated.
The point I was trying to understand is that every year you just fund those categories, leave 70% in undesignated, and then you go on year to year to year. So that you're building the pools in each of the categories and it sits
Correct.
there until you got like a couple $1 million in there now or something like that.
Correct.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
Is there a category that's most popular? Have you noticed?
Lately, it's been
Yeah.
historic and housing.
Okay.
I mean, and I think it's because we created the conservation fund that took the $500,000 out of the open space and put it into the hands of conservation because they know the areas that they want to have as a continuous open space, availability of pathways and such, using the conservation land that's already in existence and trying to interconnect them throughout the whole town. So with that, it worked out perfectly because then when somebody has the property that opens up, they get to go ahead and use it right away instead of wait possibly 6 months to go to town meeting and everything else.
Yeah.
So with that, it's been historic. And again, we've done, like I say, the community garden, which was considered open space, and that's been very successful. She's built additional beds for individuals who want to go ahead and use it. And I know the garden committee has been social distancing and hasn't really laid out on how people can go in and plant their gardens and such. So it's been working. Does that help? I mean, right? So yeah, so I think, like, again, CPC is looking forward to our housing committee coming up to them, asking for the housing trust, and they're expecting, some sort of request. And I think we've talked about just seeding it with possibly $20,000. I think that's what our conversation was in the beginning. But if, because of this crisis, if we see that we need to ask for more, they're open to whatever we need.
Good.
Okay.
I do feel that because of the fact that we've had this COVID, that you haven't been able to get out and speak to enough people to, I don't want to use the word promote, but encourage the support to that article for the 3%. I mean, I think it's been a disadvantage for the team to not be able to get out to the community as much.
No, true. Well, I do have, let me show you the posters that are going to go over at the transfer station.
Oh, okay.
You guys see it?
I see it. It's excellent. Yeah.
Okay, so that will be going up as of today at the transfer station. I just, we finalized them and approved them and everything else. And with that, I do have Irv from Sandy Pond School. He's going to be putting up some posters there. And I've tried to get in touch with Calvin Moore to see if he might be able to assist. because again, I want people to know where these CPA funds are being used. And in the information session, I reemphasized the success stories of the CPA funds.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these projects would not have been able to be accomplished without those funds.
Right.
So, and like I say, as Karen would know because she was part of that group as well.
Oh, yes, many years. I have a question. Do you need any places to put those signs, Janet?
Yeah, I do.
Why don't you plan to put one at the bottom of my hill?
All right. Okay.
It gets
Thank you.
great traffic, seriously.
Yeah, it would be great traffic on Park Street there. Yeah, that would be awesome.
And I'm totally behind this thing going forward, so I would.
Karen, thank you.
No, put one at the bottom of my hill, please.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Because I was going to try to contact Sarah Gibbons, to see whether or not, she might be able to do something over there, and I didn't know. So, but this would be awesome. Okay, I'll be in touch after this.
All righty.
All right, because and I was thinking, again by the Rotary, if I can sneak on out there. So, all right, so that gives us something. Okay, anything else on the housing trust? I know, like I said, we just gotta lock it all down and make sure that we get the list of individuals, and then we're gonna need to present it to the Board of Selectmen too as well. Correct, Alicia?
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. Now, the next, if we don't have anything, the next thing on the agenda is I wanted to make sure that people were aware that the Affordable Housing Committee now has a page on the Ayer website, because we are a team, and we've been approved and sworn in by the Board of Selectmen. We also have information about the annual report, as well as, Alicia, do we want to bring up the number of members that we have on this committee?
But also, Janet, someday I need your signatures on all of the approved minutes so that we can load those, because we have all the minutes. You've been doing that all along. So now we're going to get our agendas and minutes uploaded, but I don't want to upload the minutes till you sign them.
All right.
So someday when we open up enough for you to come in, yes.
Well, Town Hall is supposed to open up what, after the 25th, is it?
Not to the public.
No? Okay.
Not to the public yet. That has not been decided yet. So one of the things we've been struggling with is getting a quorum, and that's because we're really a 7-member committee, which because Stephen Quinn was originally appointed, and Hillary, as much as she wants to be on the committee, can rarely make the meetings. So we were recommending that we have Stephen, we actually need the Board of Selectmen to accept his resignation, and we might ask them to set it up as a 5-person committee. And I need to talk to Hillary about it. I haven't actually talked to Hillary about it, and see if Hillary wants to be a non-voting member. In other words, just an alternate, so that she would keep part of this conversation, but she doesn't have the commitment of making the quorum. That would make it so that we could get a quorum with 3 people. How do people feel about that?
Yeah, I think that's fine. That's fine with me. I've got to get this phone. I'll be back.
Yeah.
Fine with me.
Fine with me.
Okay.
Pretty much
So
here.
we can pursue being a 5-member board versus a 6-member board, because the 6-member board forces us to have 4 people. Now, I personally think it's great to have more people talking, because I think that's where we get really valuable interaction. But
Yeah, I was going to say, unless people know of other individuals who want to be involved within this, that they can make the meetings. And again, we know that sooner or later, we're going to have to, with Steve Wetzel's new schedule, we've got to find out what time, if he can make it in the morning, what time he can make it in the morning versus what time at night. And Karen, I know you and I have talked about, being at 7 o'clock. 6 o'clock is just a little too early for me. That'd be it. But we can try to figure out something of when we all be able to meet. And Ken, you're a little more flexible.
I'm a little more flexible.
So here's
In
another
many-
idea.
many fashions.
We could actually go to, if somebody knows of somebody that they think would be good on this committee, we could continue being a 7-member board. We could replace Stephen Quinn. And then we can, that's also a 4 people, but that would give us 1 more person that could possibly be there. So the quorum would be a little bit easier. It's not always landing on you guys.
What about the option of a 5-member board with 2 alternates?
With 2 alternates,
That's
okay.
what we talk about on the conservation and on planning and things like that, so that the alternates, participate, but you say they're not voting. But then if they become a member, let's say, how do I say this? If someone is not there and the alternate takes a position, I believe they can vote, right?
Oh, okay. So basically staying a 6-member board, get
5
another a 5-member,
board, 2 alternates,
2 alternates.
right? And
But
then
we're, okay, so just changing what we are. Well,
Right. it gives more options to it gives you the voices of 7 people, but it doesn't have the requirement of the 4 people for the quorum. And so you might get input from 7 people if everyone decides to come, and then if someone doesn't, then if you lose, a person, one of the alternates would be alternate 1 and alternate 2 would step into the 5 and would have a vote. I think that's the way it goes. I might be wrong, but there's a procedure for the 5.
So we can, and then we don't have to go in front of the board of select. Well, we do have to change the structure of the board a little bit. So what I need is people to be thinking about it. If they, I'm sure this is part of your social discussion about how you sit on this committee. But if there's anyone you think of would be good in this committee to put that back up to that 7 members.
Mhm.
So Janet and I are working to bring this in front of Board of Selectmen.
Okay, that sounds good. All right. All right. Next on the agenda, we've got the housing production plan update. I know because we've got about 15 minutes more left.
So Janet and I have been working on that. I put in some of my changes, but Janet's been very busy. Hopefully we can get, mine only took 3 months, so come on, or maybe it was 4, I don't know. So I might send this off, Janet, to MRPC to see how they feel about the changes I made simultaneously with you.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I get a little feedback from you or MRPC, I'll get it to everybody so they can all make their comments too. And hopefully that can happen in the next couple of weeks.
One thing that I did find amazing is on how it's straight to the point this one is versus the older version that came out from community, what is it, the
Community Opportunities Group.
Yeah, and with that, the older version for people who want to know is out on the the affordable housing website page on the Ayer web page itself. So that's the original, and as soon as we're done with the current one, then that will go up there as well. I know I skipped over your other item on the agenda. I do apologize.
That's okay.
All right, so
I'm just going to say that we're still working on it, and it will be, we need to get it approved and get it to the Board of Selectmen to approve and all that sort of stuff. So we'll really aim to get that moving. Now, the town offices have been semi-closed, not just to the public, but also we're trying to keep fewer than 1 person in the office at times. But by next week, we will all be in full time. And and it's a little hard. We have a server, so we can't access our files from home. So everybody's doing the best they can to handle all this stuff. But we're just trying to social distance and all that. The next thing I wanted to bring up was, as of Monday, we got a notice of a new CDBG grant. This is really exciting. It's CDBG-CV. And this is some of the CARE money that got voted by Congress, and they're distributing it through the states. And Massachusetts chose to put some through DHCD for emergency rental assistance and small business assistance. And so we have to have a grant put together and in by June 5th, Alan and I. The good news is, that at first I thought I had, and there's money for emergency rental assistance. And I thought that I had to get a program up and running. But what they chose to do was, let me see. Oh, I lost it. I had it up on my other computer, but it's gone. So RAFT is residential assistance for families in transition or something like that. But what it really is, it's emergency rental assistance. It's up to $4,000. Anyone can apply. And I have been working on a handout for this and a notice for this, but I do need to get it up on the website. So Ron, if you've got somebody who's having trouble rental-wise, or a landlord who has somebody who hasn't paid their rent, there's an application, and for our area, for the town of Ayer, you would be going through Recap Solutions down in Worcester. But the application's a little hard to find, so I've got the link to the application, and I want to get that link out there so anybody can go. And they're eligible for $4,000. Most of it has to go to paying back rent or to paying the rent, but $1,000 can go in transition if they're moving to a new place. So instead of having that money go to towns, as Janet and I heard when we went to that conference, is these programs are a little complex setting up. The emergency ones. If we want to do a subsidized rental program through our housing trust, we can do that give benefits for a year's time, where we maybe help somebody out at $500 a month or $300 a month every month for a year, and we go into contract with them on that. But this is for emergency funds. And so what the state decided to do is they're putting all their emergency funds into the RAFT program. So there's going to be a lot of money in there. So anybody who knows of people, and I'll put out a notice on this, we'll put it on the website, get it to you, I'll get it to you, Karen, so that we can really help distribute, get people onto that program. And they end up getting a $4,000 up to $4,000. They look at how much rent they pay each month and all that. So there's a formula to it. So that we don't have to deal with in this grant application. That's going absolutely just to RAFT to begin with. And so I think our first program before we get our housing trust is to make sure we just distribute that information to people. The second part of it is, there's three parts. There's the small business, there's the rental assistance, and there's social services. And so the rental assistance, we're going to be just more of informing people, getting them targeted to the RAFT program, that sort of thing. The small business, we're going to be writing a loan for Ayer Small Business Fund. And this is micro enterprises and small businesses. And we send in questions because the micro enterprises have to be under 5 people. This, Ron, speaks to what you were talking about. And we will be able to set up our own program. And this isn't necessarily a payroll program. This can be for business losses. So they can prove what they've lost in their businesses and come to us for, and this is another question. We had to have all our questions in by Wednesday, whether it can be full-fledged grants or loans. And if it can be grants, that's a great thing. So, and it looks like it can be up to $10,000. Now, how much we can ask for it, what we're trying to get a handle on is how many of these small businesses are out there. We can go up to $400,000 in our grant application. We want to be able to distribute all the money, so we need a little bit of feedback on that to find out how many businesses would be qualifying. this is CDBG, so there is a low to moderate income qualification, though that's going to be a little more flexible. So, I don't know how tight the low to moderate income qualification is going to be, but we'll be taking in information about businesses, you know, how much they make, and it might, if it's a single owner business, you know, one person business, it will be tied to their income overall. So if it's a one person business and their income last year was 200,000, they're not going to be qualifying. But if their income was only, you know, 70,000, they probably would qualify, that sort of thing. So that is something we're working on. But the other thing we're working on is the social service. And when we reached out to Karen, we've reached out to a number of people to see if we can't bring some money in for food, for transportation for food, because you're delivering food all over the place. And one of the things that came up in the food forum, in the food distribution forum that we had yesterday, was that the community gardens was looking to set up a seed bank at the library. And I thought it was a brilliant idea. And that's one thing that we could possibly even throw $5,000 into this grant application and get the money to do that startup for the library. Because this money's really very, very much more flexible. This is what we're seeing is all those aid packages that were passed in Congress and the Senate, the money's starting to come out. So we can go in and get up to 400,000, and then we can start distributing it. So we'd love to hear, because we have to have this application in by the June 5th, if anybody's got ideas for this, okay?
Quick question, Alicia, I know you met with, like, say, the food forum and social services, and I think Alan was going to meet with banks, with other restaurant owners and other business owners. Have those also occurred?
One small business owner has, a forum has occurred. We're having a public hearing on this on June 1st, Monday, June 1st. And so we're going to have a Zoom public hearing on this to hear back. But if any of you guys have ideas, we're writing this as, you know, we're gathering information really quickly right now. And by June 1st, we'll have a lot of it written. So don't hesitate to call us and talk to us now, think about it, talk to us. Ron, I'd really like to hear what you think about the small businesses, because this is one place that they're going to get some money.
Yeah,
so.
I'd like to see what the guidelines are.
Sure, I can send you the guidelines.
Yeah, I mean, that's before I can even almost comment. Got to see where their head's at, because again, the definition of a small business is, to me, so far the definition hasn't been a small business definition.
This is actually something that Alan was saying, oh my God, these are so small. How? Because he's thinking of the bigger businesses, the restaurants downtown, because it's 5 employees counting the employer. So, or less.
Right. Okay.
So it's really the home businesses, the single enterprise, and I said, one of the questions, we had to list a bunch of questions to send in to ask them, because the town will then get to design their own program, but we want to design a program that they're going to approve and send us money for. And so we asked whether it was grant or if we could give it as grants versus loans. It's a lot about losses, not necessarily, you can't double dip, so you can't get the PPP. Well, I asked that question. If they got the PPP, are they still eligible for this if it's for different losses? And so we're waiting to hear back on the questions. We'll hear back on the questions by Monday. And then And the questions of who's eligible, the qualifications of who is eligible is there too. But we'll be happy to talk to you because you are a small business, but you also know a lot of small businesses. And this is really something. So they said small business and micro enterprise. The qualifications for micro enterprise was under 5 employees, 5 or under employees.
Right, but again, the key word employees. You know, I mean, there is a definition for employees as opposed to the way a lot of small businesses operate, which is with no employees.
Yes.
So that's my point. And that's why certain industries were not even eligible for any of the money that's come through previously. So I'm just saying.
Much
Really
of this loan is so that we can develop our own grant system and get it, because we know in town more intimately what needs to be passed out.
Right.
But we do need to hear from people.
Yep. Yep.
And
I'm
close.
excited about, you know, putting some input in there.
Yeah.
But I really would just like to see what the initial guidelines are.
Okay, I'll send out the initial guidlines of the grant. It's public notice stuff, and so I'll send them over to you. And
Yeah,
then, yes?
Yeah, no, I'll put my hand up. That would be great if you can go ahead and send it out, because my question too is about daycares. All right, I know that there are a lot of daycares within the community that weren't considered essential, so they had to shut down. So, and the people who needed it needed to have the kids sent to the essential daycares that were open.
Yes. So yes, we're trying to gather as much information. We had 2 Zoom forums yesterday. We've got this going on today. I will send out the guidelines that we have for writing this to all of you so that you can all read it. We want some input. It is a CDBG, but I'm actually glad it's a CDBG. That's a program that is used to doing grants within the community. That's how we do our housing rehab and all that sort of stuff. And there is some qualifying information that makes it so that we don't have to totally, CDBG, anything you do in CDBG is about low to moderate income. But moderate income right now, actually these are the old guidelines, I haven't updated them yet, but a family of 2 is 71,000. So it gets to a lot of people, and there's a lot of businesses out there that aren't running over that much more than that either. Mm-hmm. So, and they have put some qualifying words in that looks like we might be able to go over that and make a business qualify in a different way. They haven't tied our hands totally on how we set up our program guidelines, but setting up a program in this short a time and writing the grant for it is a little bit all-consuming. So,
okay, what else you got to do, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, like housing production plans. Hello.
Yeah, exactly. I know. That's like, all right. That would be great if you can send that to
So, before I leave today, I'll send a package of that stuff out. And I can send, it's a little bit overwhelming. I can send you just as they wrote the grant proposal, but they amended an old grant proposal, an FY19 grant proposal, which is our standard housing rehab and those kinds of grants. I can send those along, but I'm afraid they're going to overwhelm people. That's about 35 pages of outlines of how you do this. I can send them along. The first one, I'll give you a list of what you need to read about it, okay? And then what you don't need to read about it, but I'll send it all along, and you guys can have fun.
Okay, thank you. And our spare time.
Yes.
All right. Well, we're coming up to the hour, so I didn't know whether or not anybody wanted to bring up anything else that to the group. I know that our next meeting is going to be determined depending upon the feedback that we get from Hillary and from Steve Wetzel on the availability and such.
Why don't we, well, the 5 of us are here, What's the best availability for this group?
I love these meetings.
Mornings.
Yeah, morning, definitely.
Mornings.
Friday-
So-
I can do
Friday
everything
morning.
except Wednesdays. Wednesday, I usually have something going on.
So, Ron, do you see Steve at all anymore?
He comes in occasionally, but he's kind of like an outside salesperson.
So he said he didn't start working till the afternoons, but then when I suggested earlier morning, he said no, he couldn't do that. But he insinuated that maybe when things get a little bit quieter, he might be able to do that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what his new schedule is.
Okay.
All right, so like hopefully we can try to keep it to maybe Friday mornings between 9, 10 o'clock, somewhere around there.
Works for me.
All right,
Oh, okay.
because I think, Ron, you and I spoke about mornings is usually better for you, depending upon what's going on. But when people start coming home from work, they want to go out and look at the houses and such, so,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Early morning is more paperwork time.
Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and do that. And then Lisa, you and I will meet up with regards to, like I say, contacting Hillary, Steve, and trying to figure out whether or not we might be able to keep it at a 7-member group and such.
And signing
Oh, yeah.
knitting meetings.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, whenever I can come in, I will. You
Okay,
just let me
great.
know, okay? All right, so if there's nothing else, can I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Ron? Karen?
Aye.
Aye.
Jen?
Aye.
Janet? Aye. Aye, you got it. Guys, please be safe out there. Keep your ears open, give us feedback, and thank you very much for everything that you do.